Thank you for tuning into the show. As usual, nothing is medical advice, it's only for educational purposes. Hi, Courtney. Welcome to the Community Healthcast. Today we are with Courtney and we are here to talk about homeoprophylaxis. So, can you tell us a little bit about your story and what made you want to specialize in homeoprophylaxis?
Yes, so my background is that I've always been very interested in natural health, herbs, and homeopathy. My one of my first jobs was working at a health food store, and I think that was around 2001, and I was introduced to homeopathy then. But when I became a mom, homeopathy was something that really entered my life in a big way. And I was just so grateful to have something that was so effective and so natural and so safe to give to my baby. I actually think the big experience I had when my son, who is now almost 17, honestly,
Wow, okay.
uh, he was probably 3 months old and he got croup. And it was scary. As anybody knows who's gone through croup,
Yes.
I happen to have a very, very good friend who was into homeopathy, and she's now a homeopath. And her name is Elizabeth. She works on our team, and her daughter had had croup. And so I was visiting my dad in Florida at the time. So I didn't have anything with me, but she was like, listen, it's okay. This is what you do. And the moment that I gave him the remedy, it was like totally a game changer. Like everything kind of just got like probably instantly 40% better. He was breathing better. I was thinking about taking him to the emergency room. And then after giving him just one dose, I decided I think we're going to be okay. And croup can last for several days. And he did have it return the next evening, but it wasn't as severe. You know, that's kind of how the homeopathy does tend to work.
Absolutely.
And we got through it. And every single one of my kids, I have 3 kids, have had croup at some point or another. I know exactly what to do. And it makes it just so much easier because croup is one of the things that happens often in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And to have homeopathy in the middle of the night to have a good kit is a lifesaver for a mom. So that was, kind of my introduction to homeopathy. And I actually had this weird niche of working for homeopaths. So I worked for one homeopath for about 10 years doing project management and some marketing things. And then the last homeopath that I worked for, I actually started with her, I think it was in 2017. And last year, sadly, she passed away. Her name was Cilla Watcott. And right before she passed away, she asked me to carry on her business with homeoprophylaxis. So that's kind of what I've come here to talk about. It wasn't, a journey that I was set out upon doing any of this, but here I am, and I am certified in homeoprophylaxis, and I'm really, really enjoying sharing this with people for sure.
Now, can you tell us the difference between regular shots and homeoprophylaxis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, homeoprophylaxis is an offshoot of homeopathy. So, instead of using, like pulsatilla or something like that, it's the use of a nosode, which is a highly, highly diluted disease product. It's so diluted that it's only, a frequency left, and there's no molecular structure there. So, there's no, nothing that'll make you sick or anything like that in homeoprophylaxis. And so the difference between homeoprophylaxis and the shots, this is something that we get asked quite a lot because usually people's introduction to homeoprophylaxis is that they don't want to do the shots. They're aware of the toxicity, they're aware of the problems, and they want an alternative. And homeoprophylaxis does offer the ability to build your terrain and your immune system so that diseases are less likely to take a toll on you. And so they turn to homeoprophylaxis looking for like a replacement. But we try to avoid talking about it in comparison to the shots in this way because it really does so much more than just replace. And it's actually incomparable when you really get to know what homeoprophylaxis is. And based on a really long study that was done for 15 years by Isaac Golden, And you can find this study on our site at realvitality.org, by the way. This study is the slam dunk of all studies, and it's usually what makes people decide. It's the deciding factor of whether or not they're going to do a homeoprophylaxis program. And I'll tell you a little about this study. So in the study, Dr. Isaac Golden compared over 2,000 children. So in one cohort, he had a lot of healthy kids. They did not receive their shots, compared to another cohort of kids who also very healthy, also did not receive their shots, but they used the homeoprophylaxis program. And what he found is that the kids who used HP were healthier. And yeah, when I learned about that and I looked into that, that was really important to me. So basically, these kids had less chronic and acute issues. So we're talking about things like eczema, ear infections, the common things or things that we've come to know as very common, way, way, way less in kids that used homeoprophylaxis. And one of the reasons for this is because just like if you got a disease or an illness in the wild and you recovered from it, on the other side of that, you're healthier. You've, practiced your immune system, and usually, that's how the immune system is built. It has to be practiced. It has to be sick and recover, sick and recover. Well, worth the thinking around why these kids were healthier is because they were energetically exposed frequently to these different diseases. And so just by being energetically exposed and taking the HP remedies, their bodies were able to adapt and be healthier.
This is incredible, and I never stop to get amazed by homeopathy and the way it works.
Yes.
It's just incredible. So those
Yes.
children are actually healthier after doing the HP program
Yes.
compared to other kids that didn't get any shot but didn't do the HP program.
Yes, exactly. And, I have talked to so many parents who, you know, a lot of us are in this place. We know we don't want to do the conventional immunity stuff. We know there's issues with that. We know we don't want to expose our kids to that, but we want to do something. And so, the HP is a natural kind of option in regards to that. And a lot of these parents, even though their kids are, as clean as they can be, they still have some symptoms. I mean, mine as well. None of my three children have been vaccinated, but we still dealt with, issues. Eczema is a common one. Even kids who haven't gotten their shots, they are, they can be prone to some of these issues.
Yes, absolutely. And that makes me think about what I do actually when I help complex children, like many of them got their shots, of course, but like kids have also like a load of toxin and inherited, like disease pattern and things like that. And they have such a big load of toxin that even if they didn't get the shot, they still have issues.
In my understanding, and again, I just want to say, I'm not a homeopath. I am certified in homeoprophylaxis. I'm not a physician or a doctor or anything like that. I'm just a mom, but I'm a very observant mom.
Yes,
And
like all the mom,
like all the moms, yes.
Moms are better than doctors.
Yeah, so just a mom is kind of belittling my title a bit, but I'm a pro mom, and I definitely, in my observations, I don't think any of us are not complex. We're all complex cases these days, and all have these issues, whether they're miasmic, excuse me, inherited, or as a result of just the conditions we live in these days. Every single place on this planet is affected by a toxic load. Basically, we are experiencing a totally different world than what we experienced 100, 200 years ago, and everybody is needing to be aware of this. We all have that, so we can see really, healthy kids that we're not, maybe adding to that load by doing things like the shots. but they still have certain symptoms that crop up. And so, yeah, none of us are going to be immune to that.
Yes, absolutely. And my son is the perfect example. He didn't get any shots. He's very healthy, eats healthy, but still has a lot of toxin. And by using homeopathy with on him, I can tell that homeopathy dig so deep and is helping so much. So this is why I really think that there is a correlation between those kids that have been doing the HP program versus the kids that are not doing the HP program, because homeopathy goes and dig so much deeper that it can help with inherited disease pattern, toxic load, and everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I've seen that in my own children for sure. It really can move the state. It can make a huge, I think homeopathy makes the biggest difference. I think it is the best at rooting out these issues from my personal experience. And that's what's really made me such a big fan of this and want to do this work. I haven't found anything that works in such a profoundly gentle yet deep way.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Homeopathy is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us what kind of protection homeoprophylaxis give to people and kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally, we try to avoid talking about it by using the word protection because these days that's a word that means a lot of different things. And we want to avoid people thinking that there is a 100% guarantee with anything. There, no immunity product, no matter if it's the conventional route or HP, is going to be 100%. That is what you should be told at your doctor's visit, but you're rarely told because we don't have very good informed consent. However, homeoprophylaxis is actually very comparable to the conventional immunity products as far as the studies we do have. And by that, I would refer you to Isaac Golden's study that I mentioned earlier, in which he found that homeoprophylaxis had an 87 to a 93% effectiveness rating in his study. So that is quite
Wow, this is
yeah,
incredible.
it's very incredible. So it's like not only do you get that, but then you also get the benefits of increasing the health of your children, based on the results of the study.
That's the thing that is different compared to conventional shots. With those shots, you get a protection against a certain disease versus homeoprophylaxis, who you actually get better immunity from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what that goes back to is really these antiquated understandings of what health is. And by that, I mean, you know, um, the doctors will tell you a lot of times that in order to be healthy, you should take these shots. And therefore, health is equated to immunity, and that's it. And even though these shots contain things that are really unhealthy to be putting into your body, so that's kind of put aside,
Mm.
and we're supposed to pretend like that doesn't exist and that doesn't have consequences on the health of our children, and that the immunity part is what we want to focus on. Well, what we're finding, and probably a lot of parents listening to this already know, is that there's a lot of issues involved with those shots, and homeoprophylaxis does not have those issues because it's not made with all the adjuvants and the other material that are found in the shots.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Can you tell us what kind of disease are covered in the protocol?
Absolutely. So they are the standard childhood diseases. So they're the similar to the things that you would have gotten shots for. They are the homeopathically prepared versions of those diseases.
Okay, and how long does it take to go through the whole program if we want to cover everything?
Yeah, so it takes about 3 years. Um, it can take longer if you sign up for a program. you are covered for 5 years. So that means you can consult with whoever your practitioner is for up to 5 years. The reason for that is because when you are doing a program, if say your child is going through an illness when you're supposed to be giving a dose of something, we ask you to pause and let them go through, that illness and then to give the remedy. So if you have a big family especially, sometimes the program can just take a long time because the illness is going through the whole family and you want everybody to be on the same page and it can just take longer.
Yes, it makes total sense. Um, can you talk about INF?
Yes, INF. So INF is a product that's available on our website that you don't have to be in a program for, and it is a homeoprophylaxis product that is for cold and flu season. What it actually is the homeopathic frequency for many historic flus. So it has that pretty broad symptom picture. And so you would take it during flu season, which seems to be all the time these days, but typically it's during flu season you would take it to help your body to build its terrain against these different flus that are going around.
Oh, that's great. So it means basically when you use this program, and if we talk about INF, for example, basically the remedy that you're going to use is going to also help clear out all those symptoms that you might still have from the flu shot or maybe even just the flu in general.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so that aligns really well with the question of can you take HP if you've already gone through a conventional immunity program or gotten your shots? And the
Mhm.
answer is yes. And actually, this we've seen some great benefit to this because anyone who's gotten some shots will have some kind of immune dysregulation. And what homeoprophylaxis can do, and I'll give you an example of this, is it can help to regulate the immune system. And I know you have some experience with that as well, working with your clients. That's a part of similar to your process that you go through when you help them to clear things. Just naturally, that's kind of what the body can do. It can just be put back into balance by taking these remedies. It's really beautiful. My dad actually, this is a really good example, just with INF, which is very low potency, by the way. He was experiencing rosacea. He had it for many years, and I had sent him INF to take for flu season. And a few weeks after I had sent it to him, he called me and he said, I just want to know what is this stuff? Because he doesn't always know exactly what it is I send him. He just takes, whatever I recommend. And so I told him, I said, oh, that's INF. It's the, frequency of different flus. Why? And he said, because my rosacea has cleared up. And I thought it was amazing because, yeah, he's had it for so long. And he said, I've been just, he tried so many things. And he said, I just have been racking my brain about what could have made this go away. He's like, it's completely gone. And I mean, he's really struggled with it. And so I did a little bit of research and I looked up rosacea and looked at some people talking about it just online, what their experience was. And it seemed very related to the immune system in general. And what I could only conclude is that by taking this, that he was able to regulate his system in a way to allow that to clear up. So his vital force was actually engaged, which is really beautiful that that could happen in such a simple way.
This is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about the kids that you have treated with HP, the reaction that they have, and how it seems for them to be able to hit milestone faster or better?
Yes, yes. So, a lot of times people want to know what are the side effects of HP. We're so used to hearing about the side effects of shots, and I can tell you that there's no there's no comparison in that department either. Um, we do sometimes see that children will show signs that they're processing a remedy. They can have a runny nose, like really mild symptoms. I've never seen any severe symptoms. I believe that there's been over 5,000 kids in our program, and we've never had anybody contact us to let us know there's been a serious problem or, something like that. But sometimes, like babies, they'll have a fuller diaper, some things to show you that their bodies are definitely working through something, working with the remedy. But what we hear more often, and I love hearing these stories, are about parents who are seeing their children reach these developmental milestones after taking one of the remedies. I just did a podcast, I believe it was last month in January, with one of the parents who had completed the program. So they went through the full 3 years. And her daughter, actually, I asked her, like, what is the most profound thing you've noticed? And she said her speech development. She said it was just uncanny. We'd give a remedy, and the next day she was talking and saying so many more words and just increased vocabulary. And, the issues with her speech development would just like disappear. And she was like, this is really phenomenal. And
This
so
is
there's some things
incredible.
we don't think about, but I hear it all the time, and I saw it with my own children. So, they'll start walking, they'll start climbing things. It's like all of a sudden there's something turns on in their brain, and they're doing these things. Um, it's also quite interesting because when you look at the conventional immunity products, it causes the opposite a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like a reversal here happening. It's very interesting. My son, my kids were a bit older, and my youngest, it was so funny because I definitely noticed his brain being turned on every time I would give a remedy. And he would have so much more, like making more connections. But the biggest thing was that he was telling jokes, and they were good jokes that were, funny to adults. And it was just like, how is he? Wow, that's impressive. And a few times that happened, and then all of a sudden my husband said, why is this happening? And I'm like, oh my gosh, every time it's the day before I gave him a dose of the HP. And then he's just going. Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just engages some part of them. And it's just so neat to see, especially in kids that might be struggling in a certain area, to be able to like move past that little speed bump finally and get through.
Absolutely. And this is exactly the same thing that is happening with complex children when I take a case, and then because we are using actually the same remedy most of the time. We go through a lot of remedies, but for those kids to get better, at some point we have to use what we call clear remedy.
Yeah.
And those clear remedy are the exact same remedy that you are using.
Yeah.
This is exactly the same thing that is happening. It's
Yeah.
just like suddenly they start to talk more, they are making eye contact, and
Yes.
they are better socially. And
Yes.
all of those improvements
Yeah.
because we are using those specific remedy. And actually for them, it's like really clearing the previous shots. But
Yeah.
it's exactly the same thing. And then suddenly there is a light that is turning on, and then boom, they are
Yes.
here more present, and they
Absolutely.
speak better, and they are socially better, and it's
Yes.
amazing to see.
It's beautiful to see it. It's really encouraging. And one of the greatest things about HP is being able to be a mom and to really put your observational skills to work and to notice these things. And I mean, that just shows that mother-child connection. These moms that are at home with their kids, they give a remedy and they notice this, and it's like not only are we validating that, yeah, these kids, the vital force, they're really healing, they're really, moving along, but also we're validating that like you are connected so deeply to these kids that you can see these subtle shifts happening and you can note them. And I just really encourage that, and I really love that. It actually works with that bond with the mother and the child.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. So there is actually no side effects of homeoprophylaxis. I mean, we can call that side effects, but they
Yeah.
are actually good side effects.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, in the over 5,000 children that have gone through our program, and I have to say there's a lot of different programs. So I can't, when I'm speaking about homeoprophylaxis and in the side effects, good and bad, I can't speak to other programs. But for the 5,000 that have gone through our program, we've never had a negative, like, terrible response, anything like what you hear about kids that will get a shot. We never heard anything like that. It's very gentle. I mean, that's the whole premise of homeopathy. It's It's just the most gentle thing that you can do. It's very subtle, and yet it's enough to make these profound differences.
Yes, that's incredible. Like I said, like I'm amazed by homeopathy and everything that it can do, like, and one thing that I noticed is that children, they react so much better and so much faster to homeopathy than adults, because I think that we have like a toxic load that is so much higher than them. When I take my son, for example, when I give him a dose of homeopathy, for example, I don't know, like pulsatia, if he's cranky and clingy, 5 minutes after that is
Yeah.
a totally different child. It's back to normal, just act so well.
Yeah, it's such a validation of their strong vital force. You know, and I think this is such an interesting concept. Because these are things I really love talking about and noticing. And it's the same thing for a fever. You know, children, they can burn very high fevers. Adults don't tend to do that, you know, because
Absolutely.
the vitality isn't the same. But I will tell you that this is kind of a cool experience. My husband actually a few years ago, he got bit by a tick and he had a really bad reaction. He actually did develop Lyme disease, interestingly enough.
Okay.
But I was very hopeful, and I'll tell you the reason why. Within 24 hours, I believe, of him being bit by the tick, he developed a very high fever. And mostly that would really scare people. And it was a bit scary, but I had a homeopath on my side helping me through this whole process, and that was good. It was over 103, and so he's got this strong fever, and I just remember being like, I'm really worried about this. But then this thought came in my head: when have you ever seen an adult have such a high fever?
I never seen an
Never.
adult having like a high
Yeah.
fever like that. So it's a
And
very good indicator of
yes.
like his vital force.
His vital force, yeah. And so that's what I thought. You know what? He's gonna be fine. He's gonna come over this. And actually, he told me that himself. He said, no. I was like, I just want you to know that if you need to go to the hospital, if I will put you in the car. Just let me know. And he looked at me and he was so clear. And he said, my body's fine. He's like, it's getting through this. I know I'm gonna be okay. But that's how he is. And, he was raised, his parents are from Poland. And, he did get his shots, but there was more of a conservative and questioning view and more practices that were kind of like holistic in the household. And so I don't think his vital force was actually as damaged as some of ours can be. And so that to me is an experience that kind of helped me to like, okay, yeah, I'm going to kind of, allow this process to unfold because this is actually working the way it's supposed to. He had this reaction, and we did end up treating homeopathically for the Lyme disease because he had some symptoms in his joints after that, which made us
Okay. Yes.
concerned. And we did herbs and homeopathy, but I'll tell you, the results of this situation are not like anything I've heard from anybody else. My husband's symptoms were completely gone in 6 months, and with Lyme disease, that's never been the case that I've heard for anyone.
Absolutely. I never
Yeah.
heard that either.
Never, never. And I mean, I think it's a testament to using homeopathy and to his vital force, of course, too. But the fact that we got on those remedies immediately, when I spoke to the homeopath immediately, because his symptoms came on so quickly, I
Yeah.
could do that. So it was wonderful. Yeah.
Wow, this is great. And can I ask you if you and your husband also did the HP program?
Yes, so you can totally do that, and a lot of people do. We took the remedies along with our kids. Everybody just, at the same time had the remedies. And yeah, absolutely, a lot of families choose to do that.
And did you notice any difference? Because it would be very interesting from your point of view, like
Yeah.
being older and
Yeah.
having like shots and.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some of the remedies, and it was different for me and my husband that I could tell my body was processing. I would say that if you're going to do this as an adult, give yourself, do it on a day where it's a weekend, or you can, really allow your body to kind of adapt. It wasn't anything serious, but I would notice being more tired.
Okay.
And there were a few remedies I felt that way with. And my husband, I think the same. I mean, it wasn't anything super noticeable, I think, for him, but it would definitely be like sometimes I would just feel like think today I'm going to make time to lay down and have a nap, you know.
Okay, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Versus your children not getting any symptoms.
Yeah, my children didn't have much symptoms at all. I did notice after one of the remedies that one of my children did have like a runny nose. And I thought for a minute, oh, well, maybe they had been exposed to something, but it wasn't actually the case. And I think it was the remedy because within 24 hours it was gone.
Ah, okay.
So it was, that's kind of a typical reaction to HP.
Mhm. Okay. And so if people want to know more about HP, if they have questions, can they book something with you?
Absolutely. So if you go to realvitality.org, I have a free 15-minute call. If you have specific questions, you can book that with me. And we have homeoprophylaxis programs, so you can check that out. There's actually so much information on the site about homeoprophylaxis, so you could spend a lot of time there learning more. Actually, there's 3 films, and there's the second film on the site. It's called Passage for Real Immunity. If you just want to have a movie night, you
Okay.
can watch the film. It's all about homeoprophylaxis. It's a really beautifully done film by the previous owner of the company, Watcott. Really phenomenal. If you haven't seen these films, highly recommend it.
I have not, and yes, I'm gonna go and check it out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
Anything you wanna add, maybe?
Well, I am going to give you guys a coupon code. So if you do decide you want to sign up for a homeoprophylaxis program, just check that out. I still have to create it, but I think we're going to add it to the show notes or something like that.
Absolutely. This is amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate, and this conversation was amazing.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed talking to you today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Courtney.
Yep. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.